Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Ray.
Good morning.
Everybody went out there drinking and partying last night. I got to keep y'all awake. Hope everybody's having an awesome time here in Orlando. Just want to thank the UAMCC and thank the Powerwash store for just an awesome event. Thank y'all all for your time today. We're going to be talking about selling property managers. And property managers are a little different than facility managers. I'm based in Tallahassee. The red button? Or the
No, it's the arrows.
arrows?
Let me see.
This is why we can't have nice things.
I think Andrew both.
Right?
Andrew, what did you do?
Throw the battery.
Yeah.
Can you work it off the computer? Just by tapping it over?
Yeah, you can just manually do it if you want.
You just nod his head, you hit the button.
Yeah, he's in there.
We put in one slide. You forgot the rest of the slides there.
Yeah. Oh, let's do a whole presentation, not just a cover slide? All right, cool. All right, pardon the technical difficulty. Whenever we're, and again, Ray Spray Wash, I service up in Tallahassee area. I've been in business now. November 2009 was whenever I washed my first place as Spray Wash. So,
Hey, guess what? No, it's working.
oh, awesome. Whenever we start dealing with property managers, it's going to be a little bit different than your average homeowner or property manager. It is a professional manager. So you want to really have your ducks in a row and be prepared whenever you're starting to deal with this. You got to have your roadmap to success. You're going to need some. Boy, that font smalled up on me. This is why I don't do technology. Right here. Font. Lonnie? Yeah.
Hit delete.
Delete.
Close the top.
Okay. There's some things that we want to have before we actually even start to deal with our property managers, because these guys, you want to make a good impression on your property managers. They're not going to suffer. They're not going to suffer fools, basically. They're not going to say, "Oh, you don't have proper insurance. I'll wait for you to get this." I mean, these guys are constantly getting bombarded by vendors. You've got to have your ducks in the row. Are you licensed? Does it require licensure where you work? Get that license. You have your workers' comp insurance. You may have an exemption. There's a lot of these professional companies that aren't going to deal with the workers' comp exemptions. Are you certified in any respect? Do you have letters of reference? Go ahead and get all these together so whenever they ask it from you, you can supply this. The property manager, they're typically an independent person or a company acting as a third-party manager for an owner. Oftentimes, a property management group will be a licensed realtor or member of some other trade group. One of the reasons that realtor, and it's technically pronounced realtor. Everybody say realtor.
Realtor.
Okay. Realtors hate realtor. They cannot stand the term realtor. They find it to be personally offensive. But realtor is actually a trademarked name. That's why it's in all caps. And you can have a real estate license, and then realtor is actually like UAMCC. It's a trade group that they join. But many times property management groups will be licensed realtors. Because by law, if you are managing for a fee from an outside party, you have to be a licensed real estate agent. What the property managers manage? They really manage just about everything. You have some firms that specialize in houses. Community property management in Tallahassee, we're doing, single family homes, small apartment communities, duplexes, triplexes. Stephen Button, shopping centers. You deal with a lot of property managers, don't you? Apartment communities. Also, apartment communities, it's very rare to find an apartment community managed by an ownership group. And for that matter, it's very rare to find an apartment community, at least in today's newer apartments, that's only managing one apartment. Just before I left Tallahassee, we're submitting a proposal for 5 separate communities, all managed by one group. And it's a all or none type thing. I can't pick and choose. They said, give me a blended price per building, and if you get it, you're going to get all 5 communities, which will make my life real interesting in April. Class A office space, those are the towers, the skyscrapers, the nicer buildings you see. All other office space, typically managed by a property manager. Parking garages. A lot of parking garages are not managed by the ownership group that actually owns it. In our area, Tallahassee, the city owns several parking garages. They don't touch them themselves. They hire Republic Parking, which acts as a property manager. Homeowner associations, a lot of those have property managers that are managing the homeowner associations. Much more. I mean, there's just, the list goes on and on of what can be managed. How do you find your property managers? Well, the signs are all around you. There's a lot of shopping centers that'll have, right here, that small little sign right out there in front of it. This is managed by Tallahassee Land Group. It even has a handy phone number right there. If you want to get in touch with a phone number, with the property manager, if they don't have a sign like that, it's pretty easy. You can walk into any of the merchants that are in there and say, who's your landlord? They'll typically tell you. Examples of some of the things, these are some property management groups. You would think Farmers and Merchants Bank up in Tallahassee, they would own their own building and not have a property manager. We're seeing a trend that a lot of buildings, even if they own their own building, they're still hiring outside property managers to come in and manage their facilities, not actually taking care of it themselves as their organizations grow. That's Hermitage Center, that's 101 North Monroe, Tallahassee, all 3 of the buildings we watched in the last year. What else do they manage? That's the federal courthouse in Gainesville, Florida. Technically, GSA, the Government Services Administration, is technically a property manager for the federal government. Even though it's a government entity, it's also a property manager. Typically, people from courthouses or a federal building, you don't have a facility manager there saying, hey, I want to get this washed. They'll actually talk to their property manager at GSA and say, it's time for some maintenance on this building. Please start shopping out bids for it. Special rules for dealing with GSA. That's another site on this on that building. Federal Courthouse in Gainesville. Florida Department of Management Services. How many people here are from Florida with a show of hands? DMS, that's who manages not all but most of the state buildings. DOT actually does self-management. I know in this area you'll have a lot of DOT projects doing the toll booths, but 90% of all the Florida government buildings are managed by DMS. Technically, they are a property manager also. These pictures are from the Capitol complex. We're not, the Capitol didn't hire me to clean this. DMS hired me to clean this project. Backside of Florida Capitol, we had to open up louvers up to the 5th floor on the back of that and do the windows. I mentioned a moment there's special rules applying with GSA for doing for dealing with them. Real important, write this number down. If anybody gets to deal with GSA, this will make you money. GSA has a limit of $2,500 they can spend per occurrence without having to go out to bid. So if you have a federal courthouse in your town or some type of federal building and you ever get called to wash this or you cold call them, keep in mind they have a $2,500 credit card basically they can spend on any service and not have to go out and bid that. So I do a lot of government service work for about $24.99. It's a sidewalk, that's going to be $2,499. It's half a building, that'll be $2,499. Yeah, and let's say it's a $3,000 building, a $3,500 building. Well, is it more important to maybe do a little bit less, get ingratiated to them and get the business, or is it more important to stick to your guns and I'm only going to do this for $3,000? For me personally, I'll come down $500 in a heartbeat if it means getting that building. When we start talking about bid limits, and this isn't just GSA, actually I'll give you this in a few minutes. This is still part of that capital complex. It's kind of interesting. You can see we're doing, this is the, myself.
$2,500 sidewalk.
What's that? Yeah, this is a state building. No, this is actually about a $17,000 building. This is the after. It's still wet. There's the before on that ledge. It was black and nasty. That thing hadn't been washed in about 10 years or so. Shameless plug for the proportioner that we're actually using to wash that band. That was no pressure washing. That was all just soft washed on that band. Kind of fun. Anyway, property managers. And Ron had a little thing online about this, and it's so true. Your average property manager does not have a good day. Your average, they don't have people calling out. No tenant ever calls a property manager out going, hey, just want to tell you, you're an awesome landlord, and I'm having a great day and everything. No, whenever a property manager hears from somebody, it's either a pissed off owner saying, where's my rent checks at? Or it's a tenant saying, you know what, these jerks came in and pressure washed last night, my windows look like crap, they blow mud everywhere around here, or a car just, ran through my sign. Property managers deal with a lot of crap every day. They really do. And technically there's somebody, if you have a big property management firm like us, they're typically on call 24/7. So one of the best things you can do whenever you're with a property manager is you're going to be part of their solution, not a part of their problem. You want to let these guys know, I'm here to make your life easier. I'm here to make, you happy, stress-free. Hopefully, we're going to have a relationship where you give me money and we never really talk, other than me dropping you by donuts, because the only reason we have to talk is you ordering more work at that point, because we won't be talking about problems. We won't be talking about your tenants are upset, that mud is slung all over their front windows. You're not going to be, upset that there's tire marks or gum didn't get popped up on your project here. So, want to emphasize service, service, service. We're here to make your life easier. Keep in mind, a property may have both a property manager and a facilities manager. We're seeing that trend more and more and more. Property managers handling the legal issues, the leasing, the tenants on a building, and then the facility manager is the technical guy or technical crew that's handling the HVAC, the doors, the locks, any leaks, air conditioning, mechanical plants of the property. And it's real strange. You would think that the facility managers would be more active in orchestrating the pressure washing, soft washing of a building, but many times it's the property manager that does that, and then they get us talking to the facility managers. Two most important tools that you can have in your arsenal whenever you're dealing with a property manager. Good old-fashioned telephone. And we spend a lot of time cold calling. We spend a lot of time doing drop-bys to people. hey, you essentially to manage this, and can we borrow just a few minutes of your time, maybe next week, whenever on the telephone. It's real easy to ask for an appointment a week out and say, I'd like 10 minutes of your time to talk to you about our services, to come by and introduce myself to you. It's whenever you sit there and say, hey, I want to drop you off some stuff about pressure washing. Can I come by this afternoon? No, you can't. And then if you drop by anyway and you leave a packet of information up front, honestly, it really doesn't get looked at very often. I mean, people are busy. We get bombarded with a lot of stuff. Unless it's an email that I've specifically requested or it says, quote, needed, I don't look at half my emails. I mean, I cleared it out. I had 9,000 the other day in my inbox, and I'm like, okay, mark all as read. That was Sunday, and I have like 350 again just in the past 3 days. So, honestly, we just don't get to everything. So, whenever you call them up, ask for an appointment a few days out, a week out. Next week always works because next week seems like a long time in the future, even if it's Friday afternoon. And speaking of that, Friday afternoons are a really good time to talk to people and do your cold calling because a lot of times people finally see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel and they're off for the weekend and they're in a relatively good mood. The other thing too, smile. A big smile. Like I said, these are not typically happy people. These are people that are overworked, many times underpaid, and all the time stressed out. And I just can't emphasize enough how important it is for us to come in there. Colin and I were just talking, the banter, the smiling, the happy, you need to be a little ray of sunshine in their life. That's my wife Tanya, who's my business partner and my chief salesperson, and my accountant and my cook. That runs my life and my business. She is she's a ray of sunshine whenever she walks into somebody's office. And you're not going to make a good impression whenever you walk in there in a dirty t-shirt and ripped up jeans and we'll do pressure washing. They want to deal with professionals. And not every property manager is good. Some of them are absolute horrible to deal with. I'm talking about we want the guys that want professional. We want the guys that don't want to go out and shop us around. There are people like that. There are people that want the job done right and they're willing to pay for it. I don't want to be in competition with the fellas that go out there and do $49 sidewalks and are unlicensed and uninsured. In fact, if that property manager wants to compete me against those kind of people, I honestly don't want that business. I don't want to work with that type of property manager. So smile, be positive, eye contact. Something that we've started putting together on our sheets or in our packages, just to help people that we don't know yet become more familiar with us. These are called property profile sheets, and they'll highlight a decent sized project that we've done in the area. We'll have them professionally printed. This one, Project Profile, Tallahassee Memorial, various projects, and we've got before and afters of a couple of the areas on there. And it says, over the past 5 years, Spray Wash has cleaned most of the exterior surfaces at Tallahassee Memorial Hospital. From weekly maintenance to large-scale renovations, Spray Wash handles most cleanings at the TMH campus. Well, that's a readily identifiable customer in Tallahassee. I mean, that's the largest healthcare organization in the Florida Panhandle. Whenever we say we clean for TMH, it's very, very recognizable. So we're giving this sheet to the people in our initial package that we're giving to the folks to help them. Claude Pepper Building. This is one Claude Pepper Building. Washington, summer of 2014. This 500,000 square foot structure. This precast concrete construction, harsh pressure washing will cause damage to the exterior. Entire building had to be chemically soft washed at low pressure. Another very, very distinctive project that we've done that we include in there. It just helps them kind of know, and we're not asking for business with these sheets, it's just kind of showing what we've done. It lets them know we can handle whatever type of job that they throw our way. dealing with you guys, it's about making a relationship. I mean, there's so much of this, I know a lot of guys get real frustrated, well, the phone's not ringing, the phone's not ringing. How do I, and it's a question I feel once, twice a week. How do I, you know, how do I get jobs? How do I get jobs? How do I get on government bid lists? You know what? I've washed more government properties than anybody else in Florida, I dare say, this past year. I haven't seen one of those, I have not gotten one of those jobs from a government bid list. It's about getting out and making your relationships with these guys. Letting them know who you are. They may not need your services. I mean, most likely they're not going to need your services. How many guys have walked into a dirty building and said, this building is filthy, I'm going to go in here, I'm going to go get this building, and you've walked out, you've knocked on the door, you've walked out with a job. It has happened before, but it's a pretty rare penny to find that. You usually have to kind of get the ball rolling with them. They got to think about it. They got to talk to their owners. Is it in the budget? You know, we really want to get it washed, but it's not going to work in this fiscal year. But we may do it. We may do it next year. You know, and relationship marketing isn't calling somebody one day and dropping your business card by to them. It's calling them every quarter. It's maybe calling them every 2 months to begin with. It's dropping off the donuts. It's dropping off your sticky pads to them. It's, you know, letting them know. We've got a slide in here about the top of mind awareness, and we'll talk about that. You stay in contact, your butterfly marketing. One of the things Tanya talks about in her class is your butterfly marketing. You're flitting in, you're flitting out like a little butterfly. You're not going in there and going, give me business, give me business, give me business. No, you're just in there helping the relationship along. I mean, and you're in there, hey, how's the kids? Car running good? How about them Seminoles? I mean, that kind of little chit-chat banter. We have custom mints made for spray wash. Little, you know, butter mints, and you sit there, and if they're not in, you drop your card off and put a handful of mints there right on their desk, you know, so that when they come back in and like, oh, spray wash was here, fantastic, I didn't have to talk to them, great. But, but guess what? They remember spray wash now. Just like cleaners, there are good and bad property managers. Concentrate, we talked about this just a moment ago, concentrate on building relationships with the good ones, not the bad ones. Now, that doesn't mean you exclude the bad ones. If a bad one calls and wants to give you money, by all means, I'll work with the bad one. But the people we want to build our relationships with are the ones that want the high-quality service. They're the ones that want. You know, I can't tell you on how many bids with property managers, owners alike, that we get called up and said, you need to sharpen your pencil. Okay. How much do I need to sharpen my pencil, Bill? You need to sharpen your pencil about $157. Whenever people want to work with you, they will make an opportunity to work with you. If you're the guy who they think can deliver the best results, they're going to give you every opportunity. And sometimes they won't give you an amount. Sometimes they'll say, I really would like to work for you, but you're too high. So then you know, okay, well, let me, you know, Tanya's favorite thing on that is we can use a different lift. And I was like, what do you mean you can use a different lift? She's like, well, I tell them, you know, this is you know, you wouldn't be managing that. We'd have a 65-foot lift on that project, but we could, you know, possibly go in and take a 50-foot tow behind that'd be a lot cheaper on this project, and instead of having 2 crews out there doing it, I'd actually put you out there, Ray, because your time's not as valuable as our crews. Thanks. And so next thing you know, I'm out managing crews on a building, but you know, it works. It gives it, you know, it also, the property manager is now not thinking, well, they were just, you know, shafting it to me earlier, and now I told them I can't afford that, or they need to be better. You know, it actually, you're justifying your price reduction, and I think that's real important. It's not just I can do it lower. Yeah, I mean, you've got to justify it for a reason. And that reason is either going to be an equipment issue, or, you know what, Mr. Property Manager, I really, really want to work with you. I would really like to build a relationship for you, so yes, we'll actually work at this under our regular profit margin to maintain this, to begin this relationship. Or if it's somebody you already have a relationship with, it's like, you know what, Mary, you know how important your business is to me. I'll reduce my fee for you. I will reduce my fee for you. Not just, I mean, don't fold like a cheap suit and say, yeah, I'll do it less. Give them a reason why you're doing it less. They'll appreciate that in the end, and you'll see more legit. TOMA. TOMA stands for Top of Mind Awareness. And when we talk about top of mind awareness, what we're talking about is when somebody says pressure washing, when somebody says soft washing, when somebody says exterior cleaning, you want your company name to pop in their mind. I feel we've pretty well achieved this in our market. You know, if they say, gosh, we need something done, we'll spray wash. And we might even know people, but people know us, and people in the business know us. And keep in mind, these property managers, they talk. You know, it's just like we are with our friendly competition, and you know, and we see people out on the street, and we'll go out and talk to them, other cleaners that are doing stuff. Conventions like this, we're talking. Property managers do the same thing whenever they have little trade groups that they're members of. The BOMA, Building Owners and Managers Association. Spray Wash, we're an affiliate member of that. And some of those ladies go out to happy hour every couple of weeks at BOMA, and it's great. Tanya goes out with them too. And they sit there and they chit-chat. And I'm sure at the times whenever Tanya's not there or I'm not there, they're sitting there chit-chatting about, God, do you know a good plumber? I don't know who the heck, you know, we've got this idiot that's just charging me ridiculous money. And I'm sure the Spray Wash name has come up a few times at those happy hours. So just like we sit here and talk to our friendly competition, they talk to their friendly competition too. And they share secrets and they share vendors. Any questions so far?
I'll throw another point. A lot of managers, they're going in front of a board, especially for homeowners, and they have to convince a whole board, and then the board only sees the pricing sometimes, and you've got people coming in and lowball the numbers, and what I tell them is let them have it, but they're like, I'm going to have loads of headaches. I said, that's your problem.
Right.
That's where the relationship kicks in. I'm like, you know, I can come down a few dollars, but here's my price, here's where I need to be, and then I'll get calls like, Colin, we didn't make that job, I didn't waste your time bidding on it. I'm like, what was his price? He was at $3,000 and I'm at $8,000.
Right.
They're like, we know, we'll get you around. I said, but let them screw up, and that's exactly, when you have a good relationship, they'll bring a crappy vendor in just to show the board, you get what you pay for.
Exactly.
I told
and that's
you so.
really smart. You know, so you're not going to get them all, and sometimes the best thing can happen to you is on a let them deal with a hack, you know, because that makes you look all the much better, you know, and that community manager can go in there and say, I told y'all.
Right, and you both still look good.
Yeah.
Like she's like, I told you, you didn't listen to me. Or and then another thing is if you're dealing with managers, it is nice to have a personality, like Ray said. If you're not good with a people person, go take a course, and don't try and get it all. Like you need a really an outgoing personality. Most managers are outgoing, like Ray said. They don't want a droopy SOB coming in and bringing their day down already. They need an upbeat person. You know, read a couple of books, do little self-help books. You know, there's a few people in the room that just need to kind of step it up a notch. Never mind the money side, you know, in their own personal lives and different things. And it's, I'm not picking on anybody in particular, and this kid. That's my brother here. But, you know, that's something that, you know, it's important to know yourself when you're going out to sell, be confident in yourself, and like look professional, like Ray was saying, and it's great. But when you're in with managers, it takes a special person to keep that, because if you screw up, there's a good chance you're going out of business, because you're going to lose. Like they've got their own little cliques, you will lose a lot of business.
when Tanya and I go on sales appointments together, she'll sit there and we'll get in the car. She's like, "Well, that was really good, honey. You only interrupted him 5 times." And you know, she always keeps track of my screw ups on that. But yeah, let them talk. Listen to them. And there's an old saying, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth so you can listen twice as much as you talk. Let these people talk, especially if they start telling you, well, we did have a problem with, the one guy, and he left mud all over the window. He shot water up under the doors, and so now it's like, oh yeah, I know exactly what you mean, because this really, these guys just shoot. It's like, shut up. Don't start bashing people. Let them know let them tell you what their source of pain is. Don't, step on top of them trying to relate and we all love to say what we do and what, I'm so proud of my business, but let them talk. Let them actually explain to you what their source of pain is. Because we're there to just hold them in our loving arms and relieve their pain for $175 an hour. Know their limits. Most property managers have a threshold. It's your job to find that limit. Like I was saying with GSA, they've got a $2,500 threshold. Most property managers can spend $500, $1,000, $2,500, $5,000. It's always a number that's out there, but most of them can go ahead and pay for something and not have to go out to get bids. And if they like you and you can come in under that limit, guess what? You get the job. I can't tell you how many jobs we wind up getting that are fairly substantial, jobs, and they'll say, "Ray, go clean this. We know you'll be fair to us. We know you're going to be fair." There was another question that started. Who had the question over here? Yes, sir.
What about you guys trying to go into talking to property managers?
Mm-hmm.
You said build a relationship. Do you hit them up first with a bid on a shopping center, or do you just go in and say, "Hey, I'm so and so. I'm new in this area. Here's basically a folder of stuff that we do."
I wouldn't tell anybody I was new in the area, even if I was. I would go in and say, "Hey, like I said, I'd like 10 minutes of your time next week," and then when that next week rolled around, I'd say, "I just wanted to introduce myself. I specialize in pressure washing, exterior cleaning. Here's my card." And I said, "Hey, I know I told you I was only going to take 5 minutes of your time, so I'm not going to get into a big presentation about that. Would you mind next week for me to drop by my sales folder? Could we schedule a time, or could I just drop that in the mail, or can I drop that by to you?" So that way it's like you start out with a professional introduction, and then you give them a reason for you to follow up with them in another week. And come by and see them again, or drop them off something else. So now they've gotten 2 or 3 exposures to you within a 2-week period, not just a one-time meeting. I mean, I can't tell you what I had for lunch yesterday, much less a phone call that I received 2 weeks ago. And they say that the average American has to be exposed to something 3 times before they remember it. So don't ever try to go for that one. Don't just give up the ghost, and I see this all the time. It's like, well, let me stop by, and you literally are just giving them just everything. Here's all the stuff about me. I think you hold that back a little bit. You let it trickle in. You give them reasons. You see, you kind of testing the water with them. Is this going to be a serious guy, or are they just blowing smoke up my tailpipe, or do they really do they want a quality vendor? Working under their spending limit typically does not have to be publicly bid, or they don't have to get 3 bids out. Let's talk about the publicly bid. And I mentioned this a moment ago with the government contracts. There's not a lot of publicly bid stuff. I mean, typically speaking, property manager is going to either know who they want to use. They're going to have 2 or 3 favorites. They're going to get bids from them. They may go to Google, see something that catches their eye there. But rarely or they're going to call one of their friends in the business to say, "Hey, can you give me a recommendation on a cleaner? I've got some issues. We need to get our building cleaned out here." Very rarely do you ever see them just putting an advertisement out for bid. I've got to collect bids on this. Bid splitting, something you can do whenever you get a good relationship with a property manager. You're now splitting the bids up. Let's say their limit is $2,500. This is a $4,000 project. And the property